If you're looking for a world premiere and advice for young musicians, and even some conversations about the metaverse, you've got it in this episode with Seth Beamer. Let's roll it. Hey gang, my name is Alex Rhodes, and this is the aptly named Alex Rhodes Show, featuring independent artist interviews, their songs, and sometimes even live performances. We talk about the art, the music, the deep stuff, how it all relates to marketing, which is so necessary in today's world. And then we chat just all around silliness. This show airs live each week on Monday from 7 to 9 Mountain. That's 9 to 11 Eastern, 8 to 10 Central Time, and 6 to 8 Pacific Time. It airs on kpeo.org, World Community Radio. But for you modern day listeners who don't believe in appointment-based entertainment, I edit it to podcast every week, most weeks. Welcome to episode 6. My guest today is Seth Beamer, a Denver-based bassist, musician, music teacher, photographer / videographer. I first met Seth when I was looking for a bassist in a trio I was starting. He jumped right in and even had some great ideas for arranging the songs we were playing. Seth's played in numerous bands around Denver, including Wildermiss. He's a bassist, guitarist, pianist, drummer, and violinist. I mean, he could be his own backing band. We talk about learning all of those instruments, his advice to parents of young musicians based on his teaching, his approach to songwriting, Seth's Photography 101, and the metaverse. What? Yeah. Maybe we're in a simulation right now. Maybe not. But regardless, this episode has a lot going on, so let's get started. And we're going to be listening to the world premiere of Seth's new song right now. We'll finish that up and go right into the interview. This is the Alex Rhodes Show. the world premiere of Ebernine right
Alex
here
Rhodes
on
Show,
the Alex Rhodes
broadcast
Show.
Live from Denver, Colorado and Toronto, Canada. This is KPEO World Community Radio.
Seth Beamer is with us in the studio. How does it feel? World premiere of your song.
Wow, I feel elated. Absolutely elated. Thank you for giving that to the world for me.
Absolutely, man. Tell us about the origins of that song and who played on it and producing it and all of that.
Yeah, so that is a song that was performed with a group called Gold Joy that I was a part of and led with Alex Newton, guitar, Ryan Bannigan on drums, and Luke Maxon on keys. And then I was on bass on that recording. We also had a Jason Bartek, shout out, on guitar for a little bit with us as well. And we all went to school together and, you know, did the whole jazz program thing. And through that, we loved playing jazz together. And somewhere along the lines, not only I, but all of us, we all started writing our own instrumental pieces, and we started doing what we called jazz breakfast. And so jazz breakfast was, everyone looked forward to jazz breakfast, where everyone would bring like their tunes or whatever. We'd just have fun with, and maybe it wasn't even a tune that we wrote. Maybe we just played some old jazz standards, but everyone would come over. We'd have cinnamon rolls in the oven. We'd have orange juice and coffee flowing. It would be just, you know, all about getting together and having a nice breakfast and playing some jazz. And it eventually turned into, let's make a group. And so we made this group Gold Joy, and we had a few really good shows together, and we just loved making music together, but we just never released that song. We recorded that in the studio, actually with Caleb Temke.
Okay.
He recorded that and produced, I guess you could say he produced, and we just did it. We knocked it out in a day, that tune. We just knocked it out in a day, and then it was done. And you know, I think just from a personal standpoint, if I can be honest with the KPEO listeners.
Absolutely. We love honesty on this show.
You know, I personally didn't feel like it was always maybe the best representation of us. You know, I thought that we had even better in us that I wanted to show off. And I do believe that even still we do have better, of course. But maybe in hindsight, it would have been worth it just to put it out there. Because I think as artists, we need to just like get the ball rolling at some point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, first of all, I want to say you might be the classiest guest we've had on. Really? Jazz breakfast? Jazz? That's next level.
That's great.
But I want to ask you, because I think a lot of artists struggle with this, and I know that I have, and some stuff that I've done. You record this, you write it, you put it all together, you guys have a great time making the music, and then you're like, am I going to put that out there? Why do we do that?
Why do we
not put out the thing that we put so much time and effort and love into?
You know, and that's the thing is I know we're our own worst critics, but we also know what we're capable of. And if it's not to our own standard, like there's a line there. You have to weigh, because it's like, well, you can't be so overly confident about yourself and say, you know what, no, it's just not good enough for me, but maybe the world loves it. Because at some certain point, the little voice in your head that says this sucks is right, right? Like at some level, it's right to some degree, but then there's the other side of things that's like, you're in your own head about it. You should just release it. You have to kind of, I guess, that's a personal decision to weigh those two options, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's natural as an artist. Like, of course, you're gonna feel like, you know, what is it? What's the syndrome?
Imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome. Of course, you're gonna have all those feelings and feel like it's not worthy and all those. And maybe us artists weren't loved enough as kids. Who knows? But it's. But I think you have to be your own your own worst critic, but you have to be your own best critic too. I mean, maybe it does suck, but
because I've heard the rule of like 80%. If it's 80% and you feel 80%, just do it.
Oh yeah.
And I think back, like if I got 80% in college, well, not in college, in high school, if I'd have gotten 80%, that would have been a travesty. In college, 80% would have been pretty darn good.
You would have finished. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know if you finished or not, but I think I've never heard that metric before, but that's probably a good one to go by. Yeah. If you think 80% of it, it's like,
Yeah.
If you feel 80% good about it, then put it out. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about who you are, why you're here,
Who am I?
where you started, all of that fun stuff.
Oh, man. How far back do you want to go?
Let's go all the way back to childhood. It was a cold winter's day in 1980, 90.
Wow. I'm not going to give you any look in my eyes as to what year that was. It was 91.
91.
So
Okay.
So I'm 30. Turned 30 last year.
Congratulations.
Thanks. I'm in the big kids club now. I feel like.
No. 40 is the big kids club, trust me.
Yeah, that's true. I get to call myself a kid for one more decade, maybe. But I started playing. I was handed a violin when I was 4. Started in Suzuki violin. My dad actually is the one who forced me into that. I hated it, dude.
You hated violin.
I hated music in general. And then I was forced into piano after that. Hated piano. And I resented my dad for a long time for forcing me into music. You know what I'm saying? And, I think this is just a personal side note. Like, I think every kid should be involved in music, but they shouldn't be forced. And now as a teacher, I'm like, I don't like forcing it. It should be a fun thing. Music should only be a fun thing.
It's a hard thing. I can say as a parent, right? Like, I look at my 2 kids and I'm like, I really want you to play music, but it's hard. It's a hard balance between you need to learn how to play the piano.
Yeah.
Damn it. Learn how to play the piano.
I know. If there's one to learn too.
Yeah, because if you figure that out, the rest of it kind of falls into place. I say that as someone who's not good at piano.
Well, and there is a small element of like having to maybe put some pressure on the kids, but I guarantee that no matter what, even in my own experience of having hated it, I am so thankful that I know it now. Not just because I'm a professional musician, but just in general, like it's nice to be able to listen to music and be able to clap along and understand what's going on. So
violin, piano. How old are you when you're forced into piano? I'm seeing you like in some like Iron Mask situation where you're like in the turret of a castle.
Oh, I'm wearing shackles. Yeah. Let's see. So I did piano or violin till like, I want to say like 8 or so. And then piano was age 10. I remember that, 8 to 10. And then did some clarinet in band. I remember in band, we had to choose in 6th grade. I don't know if you had to do this, where it's like either band, orchestra, or choir, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, of course I'm doing band. And my mom, she had a old clarinet. And so I was like, well, I'm going to play clarinet. And I played her clarinet that she played in middle school or whatever for my middle school band, which was
fun. Played clarinet in middle school.
No way! And did you like it?
I picked that instrument because I thought the ladies would really dig a guy who plays clarinet. That's not true.
Well, you get to sit with all the ladies.
That certainly did not help me. I despised being in band in middle school.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's all right. I mean, it's a kind of a tough environment. Like even as a teacher, I would be like, that would be a tough place to be as a teacher.
Oh, as a teacher, I can't imagine. I have a friend who does that. She used to teach middle school band. Now she does high school band. And I'm like, I don't know how you do that.
Yeah. I think high school would be a lot more fun and maybe tolerable. Sorry to all you middle school listeners out there. And I only did that for a year because I hated it too. I did not like, it's not that I didn't like band. I didn't like the instrument. And it was just easy, I remember, for me at the time. And then after that, what did I do after that? Oh gosh, I got my first guitar, age 12. So 12th birthday, got my first guitar, and
what kind of guitar was it?
I still have it to this day. I'll never get rid of it. It's just a good old Mexi Strat.
Awesome. Yeah. What color is it?
Like a satin red.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And then rock and roll began?
And then rock and roll began. Well, and so I did jazz band through high school. I took lessons, and then all my friends were in drumline, though. And so I got sucked into that world, started playing drums, and did the drumline in high school. From there, after high school, I kept in the drumline circle and community, and I was playing bass guitar, actually, because a group called the Blue Knights, they needed a bass guitarist at the time.
Okay.
And it was a position I could kind of just they were like, yeah, here you, like, if we know you play, can you come play? And I wasn't really a bass player. I was up to that point primarily guitar, and so I had a lot of like learning to do as far as technique. But I'm so thankful for that experience, because then after that experience, I was in school for music, and I had to take lessons. At this time, it was only audio engineering that I was doing, but I still had to take lessons, right? You still have to do a couple of lessons, and so I was like, well, I've been playing bass guitar. I guess I'll keep on that track. I'll just keep going with the bass thing and take a few lessons on bass. And through that, I was presented like with opportunities from my professor. I was getting put into invite-only ensembles. I was just walking in without audition into these groups in college and getting offered gigs. And like, it just became obvious that I needed to do performance. And so, through a couple hoops and some steps, I ended up doubling, and I got the performance major as well. And I decided to then major in bass because I was already doing along the bass track with lessons.
Wow.
And I just kept getting calls, and it was such a good experience and decision for me to do that, because that's been my whole world, and life has been performing now. And so I'm so glad I did that in school, and especially glad that I did it on bass, because everybody needs a bass player. And I'm not only thankful just to get to play the gigs, but I feel like because I played with so many people, like my connections just grew tenfold, like through more of my network, through school,
Through being able to
play
and play bass. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, with you, that's how I met you, was playing bass.
That's right. That's right.
So, anyways, and then through that though, I played in a band called, in college, I ended up playing in a band called Montana Tap Water.
And this is at UCD.
This is at UCD, yes.
Denver, okay.
Yeah, University of Colorado, Denver. And in that band, I played with just, other music students, and one of which was Emma Cole, who I ended up in a band with later. So I played in that group with her. Right after that band split up for the rest of college, I played in a band called Red Fox Run.
Okay.
Red Fox Run was looking for a bass player, and after Emma left Montana Tap Water, that band kind of fizzled, and so I was like, yeah, let's go see what this is about. Anyways, turns out her boyfriend at the time, Caleb, was on drums.
Okay.
And he was auditioning as well for that same band. We both got into that band within the same week.
Nice.
So that was pretty cool that this circle was already starting to, I guess, just like link chains together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I played through that in that band for a while, and the singer left that band. But I also met Josh Hester was a part of that band as well. And Josh, Caleb, and I, we thought, hey, let's get Emma to come sing for this band. And so a mesh of all these bands I was in ended up being Wildermiss. And Wildermiss was my last project that I was a part of. So, yeah, kind of a weird mesh of all of that and into making a, somewhat of a big chunk of my career with this band. And then now, since then.
Too far to say that you're like the Dave Grohl of Denver music?
I don't know. Am I?
All these popular bands.
I don't know about that.
They all come together.
I think that's what you're supposed to do. I think what I did in school and through music is what you're absolutely supposed to do, where you play with everybody and then you whittle down your crew.
Gotcha.
And
then how did you end up playing with me?
Well, because I love you, man.
By the way, welcome to the Alex Rhodes Show. So now, did you grow up in Denver?
I did.
Okay.
Well, I grew up in Broomfield.
Okay, so just outside of Denver, and then
just outside of Denver, and then UCD. I did go to school for Wyoming for engineering in Wyoming for one semester.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's a little bit about Pieces, who produced that, what you played on it, everybody in the band.
Yeah, sure. Pieces is a song by the band Wildermiss that I was previously part of. And what can I say about it? We all share writing credit on that, but as one of the main guys or the main influencers on that tune, I'll say it's a song that's about a letter from a future self to a past self, or a present self to a past self, rather. It's like, oh, I know, I've seen everything.
Yeah.
You're going to be okay. I love you, man. Like, it's like loving yourself, loving the past self, which is hard to do.
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit about songwriting, because you and I are in a songwriting group together.
We are. I was wondering if, I mean, of course it has to come up tonight.
It has to, right?
Yeah.
So when you approach songwriting as a craft or any song in general, do you have a standard approach that you take, or is everything different every time?
Everything's different every time. Everything's, I would say, it's random. This is how I describe songwriting to people, it's like, it's just out there in the space, and you don't get to see it, right? You don't get to see it out, like sitting out there in space. But every once in a while, it'll show a little glimmer to you. It'll show you a little bit. And when it does, you have to grab it. If you don't grab it, dude, it's fucking gone.
Yeah.
It's like, peace out. And so, you got to grab it. And that's how I write, is just like taking those little bits, and then I try and put them together. If I were to sit down and write and just like say, today I'm writing a song, I'm not going to write anything. Nothing's going to get done. My brain it can work like that, but it's not working as fast.
Gotcha.
Because it's not as like natural.
So when you hear about these guys, the Nashville songwriters, and they just meet up every day, and they're like, what are we writing about today? And they just go for it.
Hey, that's cool. But then don't you think that they're more writers than they are artists?
Oh, I would agree with that. Yeah, and I think that they would agree with that too. Like
I think
there's
so.
a purpose, and it's and it's the same with if you're writing for sync specific or ads, television, etc.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna botch this, but I want to say it was Maya Angelou who was talking about writing and said it would come to her in reverse.
Wow.
And she would run from the field to get to a pen and paper to write it down. And if she didn't make it back in time, it was gone.
Yep.
So she knew, like, she could feel it coming. It's kind of like what you're saying about, like, it shows you this little glimmer.
Yeah.
And then if you don't get it, see you later.
Thank God for cell phones.
Just right there.
I know. Yeah. Well, I mean, don't you do that? Like you voice memos, man, all day long, all day.
And then you have 300 voice memos, and you don't know what to do with them.
That are all labeled the same address or the same name, and you're like,
new recording 317.
Yeah, you never title them because you're just like, oh, I'll go back to that, and then you never go back, and then when you finally do, you're like, what the hell is this? Yeah.
Or sometimes you're like, oh, that was pretty good. I wish I remember what I was thinking in the moment, because there is something about in that moment. There's a vibe and energy or whatever you want to call it that you're like, oh no, this is.
Yep. I was going to say, what I have to do a lot of times after I'm done singing whatever bullshit melody that I think I'm nailing is at the end, I have to say a bass line or sing the bass line. Like I'll say, here's the bass line.
Oh.
Right? And then I'll like sing the dum, 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 dum,
so is that where it comes to you? Like the bass? So are you writing from the bass perspective?
Ooh, that's
mostly?
a good question.
Because most people I talk to are piano, guitar. I've never.
You know what? When I'm hearing songs in my head, I usually hear the harmonic motion of it. Yes. And through that harmonic motion is a bass line. So it's not that I'm hearing the bass line. It's that I'm hearing the harmonic motion, and the bass player is guiding that motion just out of the nature of the instrument.
Sure.
And so, of course, maybe you could say, oh, I'm writing from the stance of a bass, but it's more the encompassing harmonic structure. And then the bass line is just naturally a part of that, if that makes sense.
That makes total sense. Now, are you going, so you get your recording and your phone, what instrument do you go to finish or to?
Oh, guitar.
Guitar. Okay.
It has to be guitar. That's like, I'm the fastest at it. Sometimes I'll get to a piano and I'll play a bass line on the piano while I sing or whatever, and then I'll finish out my thought. But, or do you mean like finish?
Oh, well, let's go to finish. How do we go from guitar to finish?
Wow. Well, there's a lot of steps in there.
Apparently, we're going to the Nordic countries.
Yeah. We're going all across the whole universe here, and then we're coming back, man. No, for to get from the point of having an idea to a finished song, it's a lot for me throwing ideas at a wall and seeing what sticks, and this is part of what I'm learning, just being like a songwriter, a solo songwriter for, I would say, about a year or so now, like on my own for the first time, I would say ever, like completely on my own. Mm-hmm. And I'm so used to writing with a band, and now I'm starting to learn how to do this on my own and how to songwrite on my own still. And how do I, like you're saying, like how do I take it from a finished product, or from an idea to a finished product? I'm still figuring that out. But the best way that I know how right now is to record all of my ideas, and then just like whatever doesn't work, just delete it. It doesn't matter. And just like throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks over and over and over. And I'll be honest, sometimes the song doesn't get done because, sometimes I don't have anything that goes with it. And maybe it comes back to the whole what's good and what's not. But, you have to, I guess, just throw things at a wall and see what sticks. But what it makes me think of is, in a band setting, you can do that all day long. But what's nice about the band setting is you're all there in the moment, and you can all look at each other and go, let's play it this way. Okay, let's play it this way. Okay. But when you're on your own, you have to record it all. You don't get to just like play it and see what sounds good. Right?
Yep.
There's not that element with everybody playing together and you hear the whole song as a piece in a single section, from this section to this section, and you can A/B that transition.
Or you have that moment where you all look at each other and you're like, that's the thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
You don't get that solo.
You don't get that solo at all. And so it's an interesting process. I'm still learning about this songwriting process on my own in a lot of ways, but I would say that's like 90% of it is just throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks.
Now, with the writing piece of that in bands, can you talk a little bit about the difference in writing with the band versus writing solo? I mean, we know a little bit about writing solo, but writing with the band, because each band is a little bit different. How have bands that you've worked with been?
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good question. Because I've been in bands where it's like 4-way equal split. Everyone's like, we leave our egos at the door and everyone, gets to have a say. And I've also played in bands where this is the main writer, and, not that your voice isn't heard, but like we're playing his tunes. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's whether or not the name of the band is his name or not. I've been in those bands. And, I think each one is just different as a musician, obviously. But I would say I don't know. In that regard, those two are like completely different from doing it on your own, because when you're completely on your own, it's so vulnerable. Like, it's such a weird, this is the biggest difference, because you're writing music in all of those facets. But when you're writing music on your own, you're being vulnerable with yourself, like not with other people, but with yourself. And that's like, man, that's deep, man. That's like,
you some stuff comes out and you're like, whoa, have I been bottling that up?
Yeah, you're like, man, that's the third song I've written about that. That must be something that like I really am going through, or something that is really on my mind. And you don't realize like, those kinds of things when you're in a band, know. And there's also an element when you're in a band that you only want to bring your best ideas to the table, or you only want to bring things that work for that band. Whereas, it's a little bit more freeing in this regards when you're writing on your own, because anything goes, at least that's how I operate for myself, is like, why not just try anything?
It's the benefit and the curse of I can do anything, which means I could do anything.
Yeah.
So where are the bumpers to kind of keep you in focus and in the right lane, I guess.
Yep. I totally feel that. So
I was in a band where we had 4 writers. Yeah. And you were expected to come with the song that was basically like 95% finished.
Oh, wow.
And present it, and then get ready, because those are 3 good writers right there who are about to
tear it apart.
Yeah. So,
well, and isn't that like, when you're working with other people, you have to be in that mental space for that, and to be able to say, or to be able to let go. Of your baby, know?
Yeah, well, it's the respect, it's the trust of like, oh, I trust you with this thing.
It is, yeah. And really, I think that's the biggest thing is writing with, like, if you are in an equal parts band or equal parts writing group, like, you have to have that trust. You have to have that respect and that, like, a little bit of admiration, really, for their artistry, to be able to let go of your own music. Because if you don't have that, then I don't know. If nobody wants to give away their baby like that, this is something that they created, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What's the saying that a lot of songwriting coaches have is kill your babies? Like, you write, which is a terrible thing to say, but when you've written this song and it's 16 minutes long and you're like, I know it's way too long, but look at all these great lyrics. It's like, guess what? Some of those aren't that great.
Yeah, not all of it's a gem, you know? So, I do have this thing that I talk about whenever I talk about songwriting with people, and in a philosophy that I really deeply feel, and this is kind of going a little bit off track, but not totally, but you hear a lot of people when they talk about songwriting, I write for myself. I write music for me. You know, I'm my own artist. And it's like, I don't know if I subscribe to that too much. You know, I think I had a professor in college, Peter Stoltzman. Man, one of the best teachers I've ever had. A lot of great teachers at UCD. But he said something that I'll never forget. And he said that music is an offering and it's a gift. And I remember there was some floods going on in Colorado. And he's like, that's a way that you guys could help as musicians. You can go and give your time as music and raise money, or you can even just go play a show or just entertain. Like, you don't even have to raise money. He goes, that's what music is, though. It's an offering. It's a gift. And I was like, damn, I love that so much.
Yeah.
And it really made me think about, okay, music is an offering. Music is a gift. Well, you wouldn't, let's say you were going to do a handmade gift for somebody for Christmas. You're not going to give somebody a handmade gift that only you like. You're going to give somebody a handmade gift that they like, but has your touch to it, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of my approach with music and songwriting is like, I mean, I'm always listening to it as if I wasn't who I am, or as if I'm an audience member, right? Like, I'm always
just got very deep.
Yeah, but like, I think everyone kind of has to do that, because that's that voice again that's saying whether or not it's good or bad, right? But having that audience member or fan ear, I guess that's like something that I always keep in mind.
I've never heard somebody describe it like the handmade Christmas gift, but that makes so much sense, because when you write a song, or any artist who creates anything, it's going to be interpreted differently by anyone who hears it. Unless you're just the guy who wants to hang out in your basement and just make stuff that you don't ever want to release, which that's fine too.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing that I was going to get my extended thought on that is, once you release a song, it's not your song anymore, man.
Yeah.
It's gone. It's everyone else's song. And they don't get to tell you don't get to tell them what it means. I mean, you can say what it means, and that's fine. And lots of people love to hear what it means. But really, it's whatever it means to you. Like, that's what it's for. It's literally meant for that.
Well, and the hope is that you find something in it, that somebody else finds something in it. You know, that it's like, oh, I never even thought about that. But wow.
That's how you're hearing that word or that line, or that's what that meant to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it's for. It's art, man. It's supposed to be like that. So, yeah.
Now, you also teach lessons?
I do. Yep. I'm a hardcore teacher. Well, I've been teaching for about a decade.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, you just listed off like 13 instruments you play. So what instruments are you teaching?
Right now I'm teaching guitar, just guitar and bass right now.
Okay.
But I have in the past had guitar, bass, drums, and piano, and ukulele. Actually, I have one ukulele student right now.
All right.
Yeah, the cutest little 4-year-old you've ever met. She's killing it. So, little Sophia. But yeah, teaching, I love teaching. Something that I've always said is I'll teach the rest of my life. I'm going to teach the rest of my life. I don't know if it'll always be at the level that I do it, and then, being so serious and weekly about it as I am right now. But I'll always do it, Well,
let me ask you, as a parent too, and you're saying you're teaching a 4-year-old ukulele, is there, and as someone who was forced into music as a child, is there a good age? And, as for all the parents out there listening,
yeah,
what's what should that look like? I mean, because it's kind of like coaching a little league team or something like that. You know, you want parents who encourage but not necessarily yell at the kids, maybe. But
I think it's like, if the kid shows interest, let them do it, man. Let them do it. If the kid shows interest, I think this is a big one. When you bring your kid into a music studio, I do this privately, but I've also taught in music studios. And the great thing about working in a studio, or the great thing about students being able to go to a music studio, is they get to be in that musical environment, right? It's like they get to go to this musical place. When it's me going to their house, they don't really get that as much. But I've had this happen so many times where a kid goes to this musical place and they're on one instrument that their parents kind of set them up with, and then they see another instrument and they go, oh, I want to do that one. Parents go, no, I want you to play this one. And I think that is the biggest disservice that you can do to your kid. If your kid is interested in another instrument in music, it doesn't matter what it is. I don't give a shit if it's the drums and you don't want it to be loud in your home, okay? If your kid has googly eyes for the drums, let them go play the drums, man. Like, this kid I've had this happen just with multiple students where the kid is playing an instrument with me and then their parents let them go on 1 or 2 lessons on the other instrument, and I'll take them to the other instrument and they just light up and they take in all the information just so much faster, and they're just like having the time of their life. But then we never get to go do it again because the parent didn't want the drums or whatever. So I think that's the biggest thing to parents is let your kid decide. Let your kid, if they are showing interest in another instrument, let them go do it. And all instruments, by the way, whether it's drums or guitar or piano, it doesn't matter. They all link to each other. You might think they don't, but they do.
And they're all loud, so your house is going to be loud regardless.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. But yeah, so what was I saying about that? I guess that's it, really. Just, let your kids decide. And if a kid, I've also had it where a kid did not decide to do any of it. And I've gotten to their house and the kid is crying and he doesn't want to do the lesson. And I say, hey, it's okay. We're not doing this today. Because that was me as a kid. I would fake being sick so I didn't have to go to lessons. And I'm like, music should only be a fun thing. It should only be a fun thing. And if it's anything else, we're traumatizing the kid at this point. And I don't want a kid to be traumatized by music. It should be an exciting thing for them. So
Seth Beamer does not want to be a part of trauma.
No, that's not at all.
Well, hey, do you mind playing a song for us real quick?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm going to write you a brand spanking new one.
Yes.
Play a brand spanking new one for you. And here we go.
Is this another world premiere?
This is another world premiere. This is actually coming from our 12 songs songwriting group.
Okay, and do you want to explain real quick what the 12-song group is? Our
12-song group is Andy Sitto started this group. Thanks, Andy. And woo!
Andy Sitto.
Good buddy, good musician. And it's 12 songs for a year. So it's a song a month. And there's 12 members. Everyone is going to get to choose the theme for each month. And did you already do your theme yet? Have you?
I have not, but I know that you did Turtle, which was not easy.
I did Turtle, man. Did you hear my Turtle song? Did you? Or you checked it out?
The Turtleneck, yeah.
Yeah, I turned it into Turtleneck. Did anybody else do that? I don't think.
I did a Turtle song.
But Turtleneck?
I didn't do Turtleneck. No, I don't think anybody used Turtleneck.
I was waiting for that one. Anyways.
You nailed it with the Turtleneck.
Hey, thanks. That's not what I'm going to play for you.
Okay. I'm
going to play a song based off of the word drive that we did.
Oh, Drive. That was a good one, too.
I don't know what turn I missed. Now we're driving off this cliff. Could have made a second guess. Or maybe I wanted this. Jumped in a fast car and took over the driver's seat. Didn't get a chance to meet. couches and parking lots. Well, you couldn't convince him, and you couldn't convince me. I don't know what turn I missed. Now we're driving off this cliff. Could have made a second guess, or maybe I wanted this. Waiting for these walls to leave, so I can feel you, so you can feel me. We could take it to the back seat, so I could feel you, so you could feel me. Oh, and I don't know what turn I missed. Now we're driving off this cliff. Could have made a second guess, or maybe I wanted this, or maybe I wanted this. 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 I don't know what turn I missed. Now we're driving off this cliff. Could have made a second guess, or maybe I wanted this, or maybe I wanted this. Woo.
Seth Beamer.
Thank you, sir.
Now, the theme of that was Drive, but what was I don't think we caught the title.
I just called it Drive.
Drive.
Honestly.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to call it. You got some title suggestions?
I like Drive.
Yeah. I think
I know that on the way home I'm going to be singing, or maybe I wanted this in my head the
Nice.
whole way home. It's
or
very,
maybe I wanted this.
it
Nice.
catches. All right. What you got coming up? Are you playing out anywhere? Things are opening back up. We
yeah.
don't even have to wear masks anymore from what I'm told.
I'm actually in Pueblo. If you guys want to come catch me tomorrow in Pueblo, I'm playing with Rob Drabkin.
Oh, Rob Drabkin.
Yeah, good friend. And we're playing for Polis, I guess, for Governor Polis.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's got some kind of shindig going on. This is being a musician or being a sideman is getting told the littlest information like possible to be able to get you to the gig on time and to get you to play whatever you need to play. But otherwise, you don't get anything more. You know,
That's it. Well, then I guess this question's going to fall flat. But
Yeah.
cuisine-wise, will they serve the slopper, which is apparently... Do you know about the slopper?
Is that a Polis thing? Is that
It's a
food?
Pueblo thing.
Oh,
My friend was telling... Because when we were having to drive to Pueblo, and she's like, stop and get a slopper. And I was like, what is a slopper?
Yeah, I never heard.
It's an open-faced... and I believe it's a hamburger, but I think it's just like hamburger meat. It's not the actual patty.
wow. Okay,
And then they just put a ton of green chili on it.
that sounds great.
And it's just that on a bun. There's no top bun. It's just that. And I was like,
I'm totally
apparently
on board.
Pueblo's known for this.
I'm on board for a slopper, dude. Count me in. I'm ready. Green chili burger? Come on.
It sounds delicious. I will say this. It can be a long drive if you get caught in traffic. So
All right, good to know. Good to
But,
know. I don't want to be playing a set and in the middle. Don't eat before the set. Have the slopper after as a celebration.
This is the benefit of having a music teacher on hand to tell us these things.
Yeah.
Don't eat before the set. What's coming up after Pueblo?
Man, nothing as of now. As far as performance, I am in the studio currently and making tunes, and I hope to have some more music out for people. I'd love to have a debut EP out later this year, so we'll see what happens, man. But
now, when you say the studio, is that your studio, or are you recording with someone, or?
Right now, I'm just in my studio. Yep.
Nice.
I have some studios in mind that I'd love to get some. You know, this is the crazy thing about making albums these days is everyone has such capable tools, you know? And so I'm doing it at my place, and who knows out of it what will stick with it. But I mean, I have other friends whose studios I would love to use their studios. I have professional studios where I'd love to use those studios, and they'd all be used for different reasons, different instruments, different parts. And we will, yeah.
Here's a question I have personally, because this show ultimately comes down to what can Alex learn, and what can other musicians tell me that I need to know?
Yeah.
When you are looking for a studio, or you're recording something in your basement or your studio at home, and you're like, it needs something else. How do you choose where to go with it? To take it to another producer, another studio, or something like that?
Well, if I am stuck with a song, I've got a few friends who they're my go-tos of like, hey, do something with this, you know, like please. And you know, there's another form of giving up your baby, you know, is hitting up the people who you trust and saying, hey, like, just take care of it for me, you know. And I'm not so stingy that I feel like I need to keep all 100% of my songwriting credit and keep, you know what I'm saying? I would love to hear other people's advice about a song that I'll perform. But yeah, I would say otherwise, if I'm choosing a studio, I'm usually choosing out of the necessity for maybe the gear that they have, or like, for instance, I love recording drums at the blasting room. Love it. Like, that's probably hands down the best place to do it. But I also had an experience filming some drummers at Evergroove. Have you ever heard of Evergroove?
I have heard of that.
Up in Evergreen.
Okay.
It's kind of like deep in the woods of Evergreen. But
even better.
It's like its own little secluded place. And here's a little plug, I guess. You guys, if you're a band, he's got like an area where you can stay. So as a band, you could stay there and record there and blah, blah. I don't know if I would do that whole deal just because I'm so close, but the drums there, man, and the sounds that he was getting, I was just in love with. And so, you know, I'd love to do some work with him as well. So it's just, choosing comes down to what do I like specifically about the studio, and also money.
It always comes down to that, right?
Yeah.
Well, you're also a videographer and photographer, so I want to come back and talk about that. What do you think about that transition?
Man, utterly perfect.
Yes!
Yeah, you are a DJ of the year over here. Somebody give this guy a promotion.
All right. You do video, you do photo, you play like 15 instruments. Tell us about being a videographer and photographer, and how you incorporate that into your mix of employ, etc.
You know, it's always been, like, cameras have always been exciting to me. And even in college, I was the historian I was in a fraternity. Not many people know that about me, but so I always loved.
Which fraternity?
Sigma Chi.
Sigma Chi. Okay, I was in Lambda Chi Alpha.
What? Look at us.
A couple of frat guys just hanging out here, you know?
Hey, where's the keg? We should have had a keg for this tonight. No. Yeah, so I was the historian, though. And I had an interest in cameras even before that, but that was like, ooh, yeah, love having a camera in my hands. And then obviously being in a band, there's a lot of content creation that is necessary when you're an artist and a musician. And so I was lucky enough to be able to do that for my bands that I was in, and to get to create and have reasons to make videos all the time. I think that's the biggest thing, you know, is like having a reason to practice is, that was just invaluable. The amount of experience I got from making videos for artists or for my bands. And then through that, just kind of sprung out from there, where I started working with other bands and other artists and people around Colorado. And now it's even getting to people outside of the arts, where I might be filming actually, I probably shouldn't say too much, but I'm hoping to film a reality show. Yeah.
Awesome.
So I actually have a meeting for that next week. We'll see what happens. But it's like, it's like everyone needs a bass player. Everyone needs a videographer.
Yeah.
I really feel that way. Like, it's insane the amount of people who I meet when I have a camera in my hands.
Well, let me ask you this, because of what you're saying. Everybody needs content, especially artists. And when you see, I told you that camera was going to die. That's why I turned the other one on.
Dude, that's perfect.
Yes.
That's really perfect.
Another seamless transition. Everybody needs video. Everybody puts video out. If you're on social media, TikTok, any of that stuff, you're seeing all this video. How do you make video that matters? That's gonna.
Oh man, that's
Get
like
people to
saying,
stop.
how do you
Yeah.
make music that matters? But well, you know what? How it started for me making video that matters is making it fast transitions, fast cuts, make it exciting. Like, what happened? Boom, boom, boom. Whoa, what did I just see? I gotta watch that again.
Gotcha.
And that has become a huge part of my style. Too,
Okay.
as far as an editor, I guess I've weaned back from that because it is a little bit jarring. But I feel like that's one technique, to getting people to be interested. But I think the biggest thing is like taking those, like showing people the moments when you have a camera in your hand that are like human, of like you and your friends messing around, or people, like just the human experience. People want to experience what you're experiencing and see it through your eyes. They don't want to see, look how cool I am. They don't give a shit how cool you are.
Yeah.
They want to see, like, what did you experience with that? And I think like that's a big thing that I would do in my videos, is showing like the experience of the night. Like, if I'm going to showcase a show, I'm not just showcasing, either, whether it was my band or anybody else's band playing. I'm not going to showcase just the artist playing. I'm going to get, the whole night. I'm going to show some people walking in, some people cheersing or hugging or having a good time. I'm going to show, some of the sound check where the singer's talking to the sound dude and saying what they need. I'm going to shoot the end of the night where you get the crowd. I'm going to get, like, it's all these like little elements to build the story. And then even if your video's 15 seconds, 30 seconds, you can still build a little mini story in there. And that's where you grab people's attention, I think, is the story.
So I love that, because it makes me think of, some photos that we had when I got married, and the photographer got these amazing photos of just people talking in it. How do you know that, or do you know that in the moment when you're a videographer or photographer, to be like, oh, this is a human moment? Because you see those and you're like,
yeah,
everyone, it's those photos that everyone looks at and they're just like, oh man, that's it. That's that person. How do you do that?
I would say you do have those moments where you see a moment happening and you go, oh, I got to get that. Because I've shot a few weddings, and at those ones, I feel like that's an area where you just get a lot of those moments, actually. A lot of different, like, oh man, I got to get that. Because it's just such a special day for people. You feel like you have to get all of that. But also, I feel like you get it by being aware. And also, I'm going to be real, sometimes you just spray and pray. You just like, You're just like looking somewhere and you just go, and you look through it later. And then what do you know? It was a great photo that came out of there, I do a lot of that.
Okay.
Like if I'm ever taking a photo, I'm not just taking one photo. I'm taking a few.
Okay.
Because you never know if someone's like just moved just a slightly different way and their mouth looks a little bit different, a little bit cooler one way, or like someone's laugh or their mouth is a little bit more open in this one, or someone's eyes were closed in this one, or something. It's just, you never know. So I kind of, it's a mixture of that. I don't know if you do always know. A lot of times, a lot of my best photos I saw after the fact and was like, oh, damn, this is cool.
Got it.
Yeah.
Now, is that a setting on your camera to be sure that you're getting
a cool photo, the cool photo button?
Yeah.
The cool photo setting?
Is there a cool... Catch the emotions setting.
Here, should I give a little bit of a camera lesson?
I would love a camera lesson.
This is the biggest thing that people want when they want a good looking shot or a good looking camera is they want that depth of field. They want the look of, it's called bokeh, or bokeh, the
blurry
blur behind the subject, you know, I mean, makes sense. It looks good. It looks pro. That is exclusively handled by your f-stop. So your f-stop on your camera, the higher the number, then the smaller the hole, and the bigger number, the more open the hole. And you want that hole to be as big and wide open as you can. Now, the problem with that, I mean, it's great because it gives you that depth of field and you're going to get the blur and that's all great. But now because your lens is so open, you're letting in so much light that sometimes it's too much light. So now you got to adjust your shutter speed, right?
Because the shutter speed controls, correct me if I'm wrong, the amount of light that you're letting in, or the time that the shutter is closing. So if it closes slowly or quickly. The
amount of time that you are allowing light to enter the frame.
Gotcha.
That is what it's doing. You're totally right. So it's all about time. And yeah, sometimes you don't have a shutter speed that's fast enough, you know, and you're letting in so much light and your shutter speed just won't go fast enough. You're going to get an overexposed shot every time, you know, so that's why you get into ND filters and there's ways to get all around all that. So, or like when you're shooting video, if you're shooting video, your shutter speed is fixed. You don't get to change your shutter speed. So you have to use things like filters and just different techniques. Sometimes you don't get to go with a wide open f-stop. Sometimes you got to close it up and it is what it is.
And you know, are those things that you can edit post?
No.
In post? No. Isn't that what they call it?
No, once the photo's taken, it's taken with that.
Well, with video, can you do a lot more editing in post with video than with photo, or am I way off base?
I think the difference with editing with video, as far as colors and everything, that's pretty much the same. But what's nice about video is even if you didn't get it exact, or even if something's slightly out of focus, you can make cuts and you can tell the story and like kind of flub some things through there, you know. Maybe it doesn't matter that, you know, the bride was out of focus in this one shot for 2 seconds. Maybe all that matters is that we saw her walking from point A to point B, you know, and the shot goes so fast that we're not even going to notice her, that she's blurry. Right.
And is that part of the story that you're building when you go back and edit?
Totally. And so I'd say that's where the biggest difference is in editing between photos and videos. Like photos, like if it's not in focus, you can sharpen it, but that's still, it's kind of like, no, it's done for, you know? Whereas when you're editing in video, you have a little bit more wiggle room to like flub some of those things. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Oh, the exposure wasn't totally perfect. Well, just bump it up a little bit. No one's going to notice. Or like, you know, like I said, it's out of focus, or who knows? You know?
And when you're going Seth Beamer style and making quick cuts,
no one's going to notice.
Nobody's going to notice.
There you go. Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's all about those quick cuts. So, yeah, video's so fun. It's honestly video and photo or just camera stuff. It's turned into really a whole half of my career, and I can honestly say that it fulfills me as an artist just as much as music does. It really does. So
now we haven't even promoted you yet. Where, if someone wants videography and photo work, if someone wants Seth Beamer music, where do we go?
Yeah, check me out on Instagram. That's honestly the best place, isn't that for everyone? But Instagram is just at Seth Beamer Music.
Okay.
And you can find me at Seth Beamer Music on all platforms, actually. I'm there everywhere.
Facebook, TikTok.
I am on TikTok as well as that, yeah.
Have you gone viral yet on TikTok?
No, man. I have one post, and it's such a boomer post. It's like it's a post that, like, literally that says, like, is this how TikTok works or something like that? I'm like, is this how the TikTok works? And it just looks silly. It's bad. I need to get into TikTok. I was just talking with a buddy about that the other day. He's like, dude, as an artist and musician, you have to do it.
Everything I see looks so collaborative and fun.
Yeah.
And yet I'm the same way. I haven't allowed myself to go do it. And I know why. It's timing, but I just need to prioritize it, right?
Yeah. Well, and I feel like the oldest man in the world when I use it because I don't feel like I don't know what I'm doing.
You don't know how to navigate it.
I don't know how to navigate it. And I'm like, what happened? What happened? I thought I was a part of the cool crew.
It's 5 years ago, I got on Snapchat and I had the same problem.
Oh.
And then I think I just said, Instagram is where I stop. I guess that's
it. I think you're not going to take it to the metaverse then, huh? No hope of
the
Alex Rhodes Show in the metaverse?
Frightens me. I don't know. Do you want to talk about the metaverse a little bit? What do you know about the metaverse?
We can. I don't mind. The metaverse to me is freaking awesome. I know that some people are like scared and like, oh my gosh, I don't know.
That's me. Oh my gosh, Seth, I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like, to me, it's like how everyone was scared about like all these predators online. I mean, hey, that's a valid thing to be worried about. But like when the internet first started, it's like, you don't know who you're talking to online. And now these days, it's like everyone knows, yeah, you don't know who you're talking to online, but everybody's online. So it's like the real world. Like you're not worried about a kid being online anymore, or showing their face online, because everybody's online. It's like everyone's in the real world too. I think that's going to be the metaverse. Everyone's going to be in the metaverse, and it's going to be just like normal life. It'll be fine.
Here's my concern.
Okay.
We already know that the cell phones, do we even call them that anymore?
Yeah.
They're super addictive. We all have neck problems because we're looking down at them all the time. I'm no different.
Sweet. So the metaverse will fix our neck problems.
So the metaverse will fix that. But if we create this world that is very realistic and we are addicted to it, which is the premise, right? I mean, this is
I think the only way that wouldn't be okay is if like you're starving yourself to be in the metaverse and you won't like come out because you don't want to have a meal.
I think some percentage of the population will do that.
Yeah?
I honestly think that.
Man, I don't know. I don't know how to help those people.
I don't know how to help them either. Maybe
I don't know, man. But I think it's going to be enough where it's like really, like it'll just be like real life. I think honestly it'll get to the point where it's so realistic you won't know whether or not you're in the real world or you're there. And then when we get to that point, now we've just gone full circle on real life. What? We could be in it right now.
I know. Well, I was reading this piece in the Times, because you know how I read the Times.
Yeah.
And
Boomer. No. Yeah. Speaking of,
they were interviewing an expert on simulations, and he was saying, he's some professor at this is how well I read the article, but he was saying that based on statistically, we probably already are in a simulation.
Oh, yeah. Well,
this
is so weird that we're talking about this, because I was literally thinking of this literally today, and I've thought about this before, but it's just weird. Like, I feel like I just like thought about a friend and then ran into that friend, you know? So
maybe isn't this like in the Matrix where you have deja vu and it's like, oh, it's a glitch in the system.
It might be a glitch in the system. I don't know. But, I was thinking about this. I'm like, don't we all, like, unless you're an atheist, don't we all think we're in a simulation anyways? Like, even if we're put here by God and we're here, but we're here temporarily so that our souls may go to another place, isn't our soul just in a simulation?
In a simulation.
Anyways? Like, aren't we? I don't know. Like,
ooh, like, that's deep.
Like being like, oh yeah, aren't we already in a simulation? It's kind of like, yeah, duh. Like, I don't know. Or we're nothing. But yeah, aren't we?
Not only is this the classiest interview we've had, this is the deepest conversation.
This is deep.
This is a show all about music, by the way, but we're talking metaverse tonight.
I love it. We could talk more music too, either way.
Do you want to play another song for us?
I do, yeah. Let me play one more for you.
Cool.
Tonight, yeah.
Seth Beamer on kpeo.org, World Community Radio. You're listening to the Alex Rhodes Show. Every Monday night from 7 o'clock until 9-ish o'clock. Talk music and play music. Seth Beamer, take it away.
Silence. I want a way to break the seas. If you only found what I have found, you won't come up, I won't come down. Every time it ends up being up to me. take me back to all the violence. I wanna see what I could be. Well, I know that I have stood my ground. You won't come up, I won't come down. Wonder if it ends up being differently. Oh, 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 oh.
Seth Beamer. Seth, thanks so much for coming in, man. This has been super fun.
Dude, thank you so much for having me. This has been awesome.
I think based on this, we're going to have more metaverse conversations on this show.
I hope so.
Thanks a lot. And yeah, Seth Beamer, at Seth Beamer. That's SethBeamer. Music. At Seth Beamer Music. Instagram, Facebook, and even TikTok.
And even. Yeah.
All your videography, photography, and music needs. Thanks a lot for coming by.
Thanks again, Alex.
And that does it for my interview with Seth Beamer. I want to thank Seth again for coming into the studio and sharing a new song with us. Next episode, I will be hosting Ian Mahan, and it should be a good time talking about music then too. Thanks for listening to the Alex Rhodes Show. It airs live on kpeo.org every Monday from 7 to 9 Mountain Time. That is 5 to 7. No, excuse me. That is 9 to 11 Eastern Time, 8 to 10 Central Time, and 6 to 8 Pacific Time. If you want to learn more, check out kpeo.org or visit alexrhodesshow.com. That's Rhodes like the scholar, Rhodes. Have a great week, guys. Thanks.